Welcome in class. If you could turn on your cameras to be marked present for today's lesson. I'm your substitute teacher for today's online learning, Mr. DPG. Today's subject will be My Hero Ultra Rumble, and the chapter we'll be reviewing today will be Denki Kaminari. Today we're going to be assessing in 4 different categories, as well as giving an overall grade around this character. Those categories will be damage, combos, movement, support, and teamwork. If you want to know the overall grade of this video, just go ahead and skip to the end. The time will be on the chalkboard. Other than that, let's go ahead and get into it. All right, I'll have everybody change to chapter 1, section 1, which is going to be the damage section. So Denki does have 3 quirks, and they all do damage. His A quirk is his electro target, his B quirk, which is the 1.3 million volts, and his Y quirk, which is the human stun gun. Let's discuss Denki's first quirk, which is his A quirk. His A quirk is going to do 65 damage per when it comes to directly connecting it to that individual. Now, you don't have to directly connect it. You can create electrical orbs around the map, and then they can connect to each other to create an electrical current. Now, if they run into that electrical current or come in contact with that electrical current, it does do 20 damage per hit, as well as a small stun. A quick side note, while we go through this lesson, we're not going to touch base on each level. I am just going to touch base at the key moments and the key levels for this character, which is mostly going to be levels 4 and the max level. Now back to the 8 quirks. So the next level would be 4. So at level 4, he's going to be doing 80 damage per direct hit. And as the electrical current, he will be doing 24 damage per hit. And then instead of having 7 rounds, it does increase to 8 rounds. And his connection distance extends just a little bit. At max level, which is level 9, he's going to be doing 90 damage per direct hit, as well as 30 damage per electrical current hit. And he has 9 rounds instead of 8 rounds, and then his connection distance extends a little further from that level 4. Next, let's talk about his B quirk. His B quirk does an electrical dome around him and does a ticking damage once they're inside or if they're touching it. At base level, that damage is going to be 20 per hit. Before we touch base on his level 4, a few things I want you to take note here. First, he does stay vulnerable for a little bit because it does keep him in one spot, so it's a lot easier for him to be targeted. If he uses all of it, he does short circuits to where it leaves you vulnerable again for around like 7 seconds or so at base level. And also, if you don't use it all, it starts the reload time. But once you start using it again, before it fully recovers, it does pause where you're at, and then it starts up where that is at again. So it doesn't keep going, it does pause. So just keep that in mind, and that will be at all levels. Now at level 4, it does increase the damage to 26 per hit. Reload speed increases, the size of the dome increases, and it shortens the short circuit time. Now, what does that mean? So now the usage time of the dome is increased about 20%. The reload speed is just a little faster, and the short circuit isn't as long compared to base level. So max level, it increases into 35 damage per hit. And same thing, the reload speed increases, the size of the dome increases, and shortens the short circuit time. So at max level, the usage time increases once again, and this is about at 17%. And then the reload speed is just a little faster, and if you was to short circuit, it's a little faster of the recovery time. Now for his last quirk, the Y quirk, the human stun gun. Me personally, I love this quirk. This is what makes Denki fun to play. Now at base damage is going to be doing 80 damage, but once you hit this quirk, it also stuns them to where they cannot move for a few seconds, which is great for combos, which we will discuss in the next section later on. The next key moment is going to be level 4, so the damage goes from 80 to 95 damage, and increases the reload speed and the distance you can go to hit this move as well. At max level, it goes from 95 to 110 damage. It is going to be similar to level 4 and just increases the reload speed and extends the distance a little further that you can go to hit this stun. So the grade I'll be giving Denki for his damage is going to be an A. In close range proximity, he can do a lot of damage, and on top of that, it makes his opponents think twice to get into close range with Denki, Only thing I would say that Denki does lack in this area is the range, where he can't hit as far as a Deku, a Baku, even a Todoroki. But you can set it up to where if they do try to push you, you can be able to make plays. So with all three quirks being able to do damage and some decent damage on top of that, and you can be able to set it up to do a lot of burst damage, that's why I think he deserves an A in this category. All right, let's go ahead and turn the page. We're going to be talking about the next section, section 2, which is going to be the combo section. It's only right that we talk about the combo section after we just talked about damage. And with Denki, he has a nice little combo set to go down with that damage, especially at max level. Now, there are 2 different combos recommended that you could do. For both combos, you do want to start off with the Y quirk. The reason being is because it stuns, and once you connect it, it does high damage while in that stun, to where it possibly can break shield before even using any other abilities. This is where it differs. Then you can use the A quirk right away after using Y, get 2 or 3 shots off to do some heavy damage, and then possibly try to get it down. So after that, you could just continue to use your A quirk and then try to get it down using it that way. Or you could typically use this method. You want to get like 1 or 2 shots off and then try to use your B quirk to where you can start getting some tick damage. So if they choose to stay close, then you're going to be doing a lot more damage. But after that, most people want to try to just get out of there. Second type of combo you can do is after you hit the Y quirk, you can go right into the B quirk, get some more tick damage while you're there stunned, and then when they try to get away, then you can try to use your A quirk and catch them while they try to get away. Me personally, I like to use the A first after using the Y quirk to get like 1 or 2 shots down and then try to use B. Sometimes I'll just try to go for the 3rd and 4th shot just to, if I know that they're low, I can be able to get a quick down. But I'm starting to try to work in that B after the 1 or 2 shots to get that possible down that way instead. Either or, both combos are pretty solid. So this is going to be that pop quiz section of the class. Go ahead, pause this video, go try out both combos, and let me know which one you like more in the comments. For the grade for this section, I will be given an A+, just because with Denki's combo, it is dangerous. It is a dangerous combo to have in the kit, just because if you are working with your team or if your teammates are working with you, it's pretty much an instant down with pretty much most characters in this game. So with that being said, I think that's why it deserves an A+. All right, next page. Let's go ahead and get into section 3, which is going to be teamwork / support. When you think about a support character / as a teammate, there's 4 things, there's 4 questions that really just come to mind, right? So first, can they do enough damage for you? Can they be an annoyance to where they can get me out of the situation and not put themselves in too much harm's way to where they can't get out? Can they CC, or can they revive quickly? So where does Denki fit in the situation? So Denki's going to be your close range attacker. So when it comes to damage, he has that for you, right? So you can do a lot of damage in a fast-paced way as long as that we are in close proximity to do so. He also has stuns. He can CC his opponents, right? So 2 out of 3 of his abilities has that stun capability. So where he can be able to confine his opponent to where you and your teammates can be able to put a lot of heavy damage down. Now the cons of Denki. If he misses those stuns, then it takes his supportability away. So he has to be in close range in order to hit these stuns. And for his A quirk, they have to run into them for that to work. So for that, it is limited in that type of sense of combat for him. All right, let's talk about the next part of it, which is the annoyance. With Denki, he's not the first character that comes to mind when I think of annoyance. I think of Froppy, I think of Ida even. So, but he does have his electrical current, which can possibly sway others from applying pressure, but they are easily avoidable in most situations, to be honest. But let's say we are going to use him as that annoyance. He may get his teammates out of that situation, but is he going to get out of that situation? Most likely not, just because he doesn't have the movement to do so in that position, right? So you're just substituting yourself to putting you in harm's way versus your team, and you're most likely going to get KO'd in the process. And then when it comes to the next part of it, which is the revivability, he only has the standard revive, so you got to make sure that your team is safe in order to revive before you can even try to get them out of the situation. So, yeah. The grade we're going to be giving Denki for this section is going to be a C. Reason being is because for the attacker role, he fits that role perfectly, obviously, just because he is that close range attacker. He does a lot of damage early on, and he has a nice little combo to go with that damage. As for CC, if he hits it, he does have that solid CC stun to where he could be able to put that down, and him and his teammates can be able to do a lot of damage on top of that. But he has to be in close range in order for that CC to hit and for that to work properly. But for the other roles, such as Quick Revive, he doesn't have that capability. He only has the standard to where you have to make sure that you're in a safe spot before you can even try to revive. And as somebody that can be that annoyance to get you out of situations safely, he doesn't have that ability as much as well, just because he has no mobility. If he had more mobility, it probably would change. But for right now, that grade is going to be a C. Speaking of mobility, that's going to move us into the movement section. If you want to turn your page so we could discuss section 4. This is where Denki drops off dramatically because he has 0 movement. Yes, he has his Y quirk to where he could do a short dash, but after that, he only has 1 of those. Can't do anything else after that. He can also get into situations. He can close the distance a little bit to where he can put down the damage he needs. But even after that, he's stuck because he doesn't have another dash or any other mobility to get out of that situation safely. So yeah, for this section, unfortunately, that's going to be an F for mobility for Denki. There's a lot of other characters that can do a lot of damage as well as have that mobility to get in and out of situations. And Denki is just not one of those characters in this game. If he had that second dash, that could possibly raise this for me, but even then, it wouldn't raise it that much just because, like I said, it's just a dash. It's a one direction motion. Can't use it in any angles and whatnot. So that is pretty much it. That's the extent of his movement. Before we go over the final grade of this chapter, let's review. He's got an A in damage. He has an A plus in combos. He has a C in support / teammate role and an F in mobility. So after discussing and reviewing everything, the final grade I will be giving Denki overall is going to be a B minus. Reason being, he is an attacker, so he fits that attacker role perfectly to where close range, he can do a lot of damage. Does lack in the range department though. He can stun once he hits it, and when it does hit, it's a heavy stun for you and your teammates. Can do a lot of damage and put them down as quickly as possible to create that 3v2 situation. Now the cons. For solo gameplay, it is not the best. It's actually one of the worst, just because you can do damage, but that's all you're able to do. You don't have a competent team that's going to play with you, or you're not playing with them, and you're pretty much putting yourself in a 1v3 situation, and you don't have the mobility to get out of any of those situations. There are some 1v1s you can possibly win, but once again, this is a team game, so it's not going to be seeing many 1v1s in this game. As his kit overall, though, he earns that B minus just because he can do a lot of damage. He can CC, and your teammates can help you in those situations you lack in to where you can be able to create that ace rank type player. Well, students, we have reached the end of our class, so I appreciate you guys attending and participating today. If you have anything you want to add or questions you want to ask, make sure you put them in the comments down below. Also, comment a chapter you would like me to review next, or if you want me to just change the curriculum. Like this if you enjoyed, and subscribe if you are new so you can be able to get some more classroom tips from your substitute teacher, Mr. DPG. You are dismissed. Hope you have a great rest of your day. See you in the next class setting.